Oh, that was a good result, bottom left, wasn't it? I think I will bet top left. This guy's been very aggressive. 259. He's defending kind of tight, this guy. There's a lot of draws there. Which is a little bit concerning. Could check back and control. There's just a few too many draws, I think. Wow, it's very sick. Does he do it with spades? I mean, he's so deep. There's 20,000, 30,000 already in there though, so he could have spades and play this way, but he could have 6, 7, I guess. He could have ace 10 or something. He just didn't want to. He doesn't want to see a river with. I think we're going to fold here. It's a little bit annoying once we take that sort of. I mean, because we could have checked back and got to showdown. You know, nearly always just call a river bet unless he like does some ridiculous bet size. So it's kind of annoying, but I think our hand needed some protection, and I just don't think he's. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is he really going to jam? I just don't think he's going to make that sort of crazy jam. I just don't think he's going to make that sort of crazy jam without. I mean, he can have 2 pair, he can have sets, he can have hands that have pretty good equity against us, like King 10 of spades, where he's got, you know, well, not great, but, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. He could just have a decent ace that he's just like, well, I'm just going to get into now, rather than call and have, like, the 10 of hearts hit river, and then, you know, maybe he's got King Queen, or maybe he's got backed into a straight, or got a flush, or somehow gets 2 pair, or whatever, you know. He might just be like, let's just do this now, sort of thing. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. I mean, obviously I wish I had a check turn now, but I really thought he would just call with most of his hands. 3, 5, 6, 9. 3x. Good spot, top right. This guy's defending a lot more now, so I'm not sure if I should still be raising this frequency. It could be a mistake. But only time will tell. Not much time though. It's heads up and we're only M10 now. I think he actually feels like he's folding too much. I think he actually feels like he is folding a little bit too much. Just thinking this, I think, wow, this is really close. I got to admit, my heads up high low is not that good. As I was saying last part, I do have a high low W coupe bracelet, but I definitely play 6 max and beyond full ring is much better than my short-handed game. Just because I haven't done a lot of maths on these type of scenarios where whether I should be calling with hands that can only make a high but are getting a really good price against a pretty wide range. My gut sort of tells me that maybe we can start calling a little bit loose in spots like that. But this guy is, yeah, I don't know. It's saying it's close. But you know, it's a pretty nicely connected high hand for against a range that's pretty wide heads up, as is this. But he is folding some buttons, so I mean we don't have to extend our range too much. I think the min raise is probably good here because I don't really want to fold if he 3-bets. And if we potted any 3-bet, we probably would have to. This is now in this SPR. We got top 2 pair and the backdoor nut low. He can have ace-2. He can have spades. Nut. He can have. Well, I don't know if he do with spades, but I think he have nut low draws as well. So we've just got a little bit too much equity here to do anything but get it in. We do have the nut low draw. Well, when I say nut low draw, I mean we've got the well, he happened to have 3-4, which is pretty sick because we had the 3 blockers. So he had the nut low and got the straight. If he did have like the same sort of hand as us, ace jack or something like that, then obviously any low card will give us a low using the 3s, which is good. But he already had 2 low cards, so that was that. So we finished second, and we got $310 for a $33 investment. So, I mean, that's not too bad. I think I'm going to check here. I think I'm going to just control. I think there's probably only like somewhere between like it's probably about 7 bad cards where if he's got ace jack, you know, any queen gives us a straight and any jack and he's beating us. So there isn't that many bad cards, and at the same time there's not really that many hands we can get value from, I think. There kind of is now. If he's got any pair now, he might feel obliged to call. It did look like he had given up. You know, so if he's got like ace X or like pocket 4s or something, you know, it's kind of impossible. Not impossible, I mean, it's just going to be hard to get value from those hands. And so we can certainly give him a little bit of rope where maybe he decides to turn his hand into a bluff, or maybe he hits a little piece where he thinks he has to call now if we check and kind of look weak on the flop. Players kind of like to check raise this board a bit, I think. Pretty dangerous board top right, but I mean, I just don't think against Roma tilt. I mean, he just likes to bring the pain. He just likes to mix it up. I think against his defending range, when we 3-bet, he calls, and on that sort of board, I think he can have a lot of hands. We managed to get him. I mean, I think he can have a lot of hands that he might play against us with, so is what I was trying to say. So, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily like we only get value from hands that beat us or crush us sort of type of thing, because it was a very dangerous board. Yeah, I think I'm going to raise here. It's got a little bit of a headache here. Lack of sleep, perhaps. Or maybe I drank that coffee too quick. It was kind of strong. Get some water. Chug some water. I'm going to take the lid off first, though. It's a little bit loose, out of position this call. Yeah, it's a bit loose, but I don't know this player. He could play badly post flop. I guess we're going to fold now on that flop, even though we have a pair against his range. It was probably a little bit of a loose call. We're getting decent implied odds, but I just think our hand doesn't going to flop, especially out of position. It's just not going to flop. There's never going to be enough visibility, you know. I mean, if the flop comes 8-5-4 and we check and he bets, or well, actually that would be pretty good for us. But yeah, I mean 9-8, 9-8-2, we check, he bets. You know, it's like we're just going to be in tough spots a lot. What we just don't know. Is he messing around with a light 3-bet and then just, you know, c-betting, or is he got something legitimate? I guess we're folding if there's any betting bottom right. It's kind of hard to represent when you open early position a straight on that board, you know, because we should have high cards or big pairs most of the time. We could have barreled and tried to sell a story, but I think it's better to wait for a better spot. And the same with the top right. I think I'm going to fold that one. Just because I don't think this guy... I've got him marked as purple. I think I'm going to play this one a little aggressively top left. Because this guy's stealing 46%, which is high. And he's in the cutoff. We do have ace-jack suited, which is pretty strong. He's going to fold a lot. It's a little bit risky because if he jams, I'm not folding. And he's not... I mean, we don't have excellent equity against his jam range. He can have ace-king and ace-queen sometimes. But I do think he has some hands that he jams, like king-jack suited and king-queens and maybe jack-queen suited and stuff that he may call or jam with those, but maybe once in a while, like ace-tens and stuff. Just given the fact that he's kind of in the second pivot. We were kind of in the second pivot. So the effective stack size. And, yeah. Sorry guys, just got a bit of a headache here. I'm just trying to battle through it. I think I definitely drank that coffee too fast. It was kind of strong, but for some reason I couldn't taste it. More water is the answer. I think I'm going to defend, or I would have for a min, but he's open pretty short, so it's debatable, I think. But he has folded. Oh, he's M8, opened M8, so you got to be careful against an M8 defending the big blind because the SPR is pretty awkward post. It's kind of easy to stack off light and be in really bad shape. Very tight. Well, not very tight, but a little bit tight top right there. I'm going to isolate this guy. He's limping 56% of hands. And we've got a hand that's a little bit playable. I mean, it's only over 25 hands, but I mean, he's just playing every hand. Well, 56% hands. Which is a lot, right? I was a little bit worried this would happen. Wow, I guess we're going to fold now. Wow. I guess we can... Can we check? kind of give him like he could have 10 jack there and hit on the river, so we kind of give him a free shot at hitting 6 outs by checking. Um, yeah, so I mean it's a little bit dangerous. Uh, I'm really close between betting and checking. If we think he bluffs river, then I think checking can be good. I guess maybe I should have bet the turn there. It's probably a mistake. Um, just because we have the best hand so often, and if he has a 9, I don't think he's going to raise with it. I think he's just going to call and hope we're bluffing because we're not really calling with worse. And if we have aces or whatever, he's just dead. So dead in the water. So I think if he's even got 9s, so he's at the top of his range, he's only going to flat. And check river. So I think that just denying him from getting a free turn card with hands like 10 jack and stuff is probably reasonable. Just because he's defending. I mean, most of the time he's going to have the sort of hand he had, and we just get a little bit of protection against that too. Not that he's going to have many outs, but he can most of the time have 6 outs, so 12%. I'd rather deny him 12% equity, or at least charge him something rather than nothing. I hope this headache goes away soon, because I really want to finish out a big session if we can. I'm going to bet here for value and protection. This guy's pretty loose, I feel. So, well, that means purple. They normally are. So he might call with a 10 or some gutses and stuff, flushes. Maybe worse. We actually got quite a nice stack here, haven't we? We're actually 1 of 17, 12 get paid. I think I'm just going to play this aggressively. Well, actually, let me think about this. No, I might call. I might just call with it. He's only min that's suited. I think I'm going to bet here, actually. He might call with a smaller ace. He might sometimes hero call. Yeah. It's on the thin side. But I mean, he's only raised button. And we've only defended. So he might even think we have like King 10 some of the time and stuff like that. He had, what was it, guys? I missed it. Yeah, he had ace 3, so. That's the thing about that kicker that we had, and it being a live kicker is, I mean, he can have, obviously base 10 and stuff as well, bigger kickers. But once he caps his range turn, I just don't see him checking back on that board ever with a jack. So we know he doesn't have a jack, and he probably does check back some of the time with like a big ace, but not always. He may bet that for value as well. So, I mean, it kind of looks like if he might hero call with a pocket pair or an ace, low ace, or if he hit the 7 on the river or something. Since we didn't re-raise pre-flop, especially. Interesting that if he notes us, that we only flat with ace 8 suited. Our turn range becomes pretty polarized. I'm going to check here. I mean, we have an SPR of 1 effective anyway. And he may sometimes hero call here and just think, okay, maybe he missed. I mean, if he's got a hand like that, he's always calling. But if he's got like kings or jacks and we check turn and then jam river, he might just sometimes think, maybe did we have spades or do we have like a, do we float, or I mean, we wouldn't really ever, very rarely, but he might use his imagination. Sometimes these guys do, and we've seen lots of light call downs, and that wasn't one. I mean, he's always calling there, obviously. It's just fortunate for us that we hit that 2-outer. But even if we don't hit, I'm not calling any more bets anyway. So if he bets turn and it's a 10 or a 9 or something, I'm pretty much done with the hand, I think. I don't think on that board very often players are just going to blaze away after get their stack in there without something, because a lot of the time they can just be dead in the water, which is a term that I don't very rarely use, but for some reason I've just started using it this level. But hey, it's been working because we are a pretty big chip leader here, 74k, and the closest is 31k. So that's pretty good. So let's try and maintain this stack. 4-5. Give me the time bank one time. I think that I would have called there, I think. But I don't think it's a big mistake folding. M4, he's early though. And we don't know him. He could be jamming a tighter range. But his stats are on the loose-ish. Well, I mean, there's only 19 hands, but he's only played 3 of them. It doesn't really tell us anything at all, actually, does it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I imagine it's kind of pretty close to a break-even call, actually, to be honest. But I probably would have called just because I don't know, actually. I'm right on with that one. I really am. I'd have to run the numbers. But I don't think it's bad folding. And I may have called. Yeah. If I was big blind, I would call, but yeah. Yeah, I think I would have called, actually. So we're actually, where are we here? Oh, we've still got a long way. 153 remaining and 36. This is actually a pretty good tournament. 2.5k for first. So that would be good. And this one's 50 players left now. Yeah, so we're doing okay. We've got a couple of triple eights on the side. We got another full tilt, and we've got the big 22, and we're all in with king queen against a second position open. So it's a little bit risky because he's only opening 14% from early, but we're only M4, so I think that it's okay to roll with it. But he could have ace king ace queen some of the time. He's from second, so if he's opening, say, around, let's just say 16%, given the antes and the blinds and that are in play, this hand's probably going to turn out to be slightly profitable, but it's a little bit marginal, I think. If he ever folds, then it's great, but I don't think he's going to fold very often to an M4 jam after opening from early position. So let's just see what he does have. He might have just call with 9s or something. Ace jack. Yeah, I mean we can fold maybe and wait to first in jam. That might be a better option. But we need to get chips. There's still 1100 left, and as it was, we're in a flip. So, and we don't get there. Another one bites the dust, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a marginal play. Yeah, not sure how I feel about it, actually. If we get equal about, actually, we just do that quickly, since my headache's going. He's 14% UTG, but 31% from mid, so he's probably like 18-ish. From second, I guess. I don't know. He might open these. Maybe not those. Maybe he's like this, actually. That's 7. So he's just under 17, yeah. Let's just say that. I got just sneaky feeling I won't like this equity too much. Yeah, 45. So like I said, I mean, 45% equity. He's probably never folding, but he might sometimes fold hands like Jack Queen off, which is kind of bad because they're hands we want to call, which means we can be in a little bit worse shape when he does call. But if he does sometimes fold, then that's great because we pick up the dead money as well. So I think we're probably indifferent to that. I mean, we prefer he calls, I guess, because we have him dominated, but it's not that much harm done since him folding gives us such a large increase in comparison to our stack since we're only M4. Yeah, so I mean, that's probably a little bit too close to a break-even play for my liking. I guess with 45% equity and M4 and the blinds and antes, it's just going to be probably slightly positive EV, but, I think given the fact that he always calls, it's not so good because it's just risking our tournament life, almost all the time for a situation that's close to break even. So I would actually probably go from putting that hand from not too bad to perhaps on the side of bad, to be honest, now I think about it. And I hope this mic is still working because it's as I said before, it's on the red light. And we're back now, so I just did that right through the break, but that's fine. I'll probably chop the video into parts anyway, and yeah. Chop it up. What are we going to bring in? What are we going to bring in? What do you guys want? Do you guys want the 6 Max Wednesday War? Or do you want the $24 deep stack? 888. You want to go with the full tilt? 888. Okay, we'll go with the full tilt. Half of you guys are probably thinking, that's the one I said. And the other half are probably thinking that's not the one I wanted, but that's just the way flips go, I'm afraid. And I think I prefer to have full tilt here, just so the full tilts are together. And also because it's 6 max. So there's going to be a little bit faster action, so I prefer to have it more central. Of course, I'm running the 3 30-inch screens, so it's nice to have the tournaments together because when they beep, you know where you're looking. I've got the 888s on the left right now. There's another full tilt on the right, but it just makes life a little bit easier. And we have something just weird happening on stars right now. We are locked up. Why is this guy like grayed out? That's what's kind of freaking me out. Like he's not there, like he's folded. Just lag on our end, I think. This is kind of freaking me out. Like some of these guys are grayed out, look, and some of them are not. They're only supposed to be grayed out if they've folded, right? This is it's freaking me out, this bug. It's freaking, look, he's grayed out like he doesn't have cards, and now I'm grayed out here. Come on, Poker Stars. What is it, 7? Don't do this to me now. I've got a headache. I'm trying to make a video. Wow. Probably, this guy's probably not loose enough up here. I've got a feeling this bug's going to stick with us a while. I don't know what I want to do, actually, about it. I guess we can just try and ignore it. It's slightly off-putting, though, seeing the guy's grayed out. Normally that means I folded, right? I mean, I can see they've got cards in front of them. I'm not that silly. But it's just kind of annoying. Software issues. I just like software issues. I just like stuff working, you know. Just like stuff to work. And it says call. Still said call for him. I might just type here. It's a kind of a weird donk bet, isn't it? I think I will fold. Just because he's donked into two, but just because the board's quite dynamic and our hand is not the sort of hand that's really going to pick up equity on the turn. If we had the ace of diamonds instead, or if the 10 was a... Well, I mean, I guess 7s or 8s gives us gut shots and stuff, but... Yeah, I mean... Bottom left is interesting. I'm probably going to check... Call, I think. It's a really bad card. I was gonna represent. I was gonna try and represent a flush if it hit, or if a 5 comes, we can represent a 7. I think I'm still gonna bet. Am I gonna bet? I think I might still bet, just in case he has King Jack or Jack Queen. He doesn't have to fold that often for that to be profitable. This guy's M8 or 9 and he's jammed in the bubble, it looks like. Oh no, no. We are in the money now. Okay. He does say he's kind of loose. He is M9 though, and we've opened UTG. I'm going to wait. Ace Jack I probably would have called. We've still got a pretty big chip lead here. It's good. And no greens or blues in terms of player type, so it doesn't look like there's like any crushes, any good regs in there, which is good. We could be against some softies, some marshmallows. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a couple of decent players in there, but they're usually in there somewhere lurking. Kind of deep. We could do a few different things there, but I'm just going to fold. It's the hand we wanted to see. Give us some action. And it's our buddy here, and we're on the button, so he's not going to believe us. It actually says he folds the 3 bets a lot, but we have a very small sample. I could have flattered, but I just think it's unnecessary because he's a little bit too deep. And we just risk letting in a third player. Which is just, you know, I mean, it's just too risky with this stack size because we're traveling pretty nicely. You know, we're in a good position. We don't really want to take a risk to get some chips because we're kind of in good control here. And I mean, he's going to give us action a lot of the time anyway. So it just seems that we don't really need to, you know, if we're M10 or something, yeah, okay, we want to get our hands on some chips because our time's sort of the tournament amount of time that we have. If blinds go up and we don't find a hand for a couple of orbits, Or maybe we raise and then c-bet and get jammed and we have to fold. We're just in a situation where our stack can... I think I'm going to definitely take that. We're just in a situation where we need to find a way to get chips soon. Pretty unlucky to... How do we run into these hands? That is ridiculous. We did get a chop, which is also ridiculous. I don't know how this very loose button player happens to have queens and how we happen to run into ace-king, but we did get a chop. So that was pretty sweet. But just going back to what I was saying, I just don't think there's a big enough reward for taking a risk. I mean, we've got a big stack. We're in control. Tacking on another M12 and taking a risk to do it is not really going to be that great. But, losing M12 and going down sort of closer to the pack, I mean, that's going to be a little bit annoying. And that's probably something that isn't really discussed much in any strategy that I've seen. This guy's opening, I wouldn't semi-loose. No, I wouldn't say loose. 8, 15. I'm actually going to call here, I think. They could be jammed or 3-bet. You can do anything, I think, here. I just don't think we're great against his get-in range here, and for the same reasons I just said. I mean, we're not desperate to take a risk to get chips. So I just decided to small ball here. I think against these softer players, we don't want to be overly careful, but we're likely to find some pretty good spots, I think. This is something that's more about feel, I think, for the stage of the tournament than necessarily mathematics. It's not always something that can be proven. Well, I mean, it can, but a lot of what I'm talking about now is related to stack preservation and your ability to win the tournament. 8, 12, 15, 16, 30, 48. And that's something that's, like I said, there's not much on. And, well-timed 3-bet there. Pick up more chips, no risk. I mean, that's going to coast us. I won't say coast us to victory, but, I mean, we can just leverage our stack, try and manipulate the other players with a stack this size. We can even afford to take a couple of little hits. We don't want to just start jamming willy-nilly with ace 10s and lose M8 here and lose a few M here, and next thing you know, fine, we're kind of getting short. I want to play a kind of more controlled game at this point. I am going to bet here because 2 reasons. The first one is the depth of stack. I don't think he's going to raise much on this flop because we're so deep. I think he's going to play pretty controlled. And the other reason is because we have the backdoor nut flush. So we just get to build the pot a little bit for if we happen to back into a big hand against another big stack. The jack is a pretty good card for us, but I think some of the times he can have an 8 or a jack. He can have queen 10 and 6-9 and 5-6 if he defends loose, but we don't know too much about him yet. 9 queen, I guess, as well. So I will just check now, and probably on that card I'm going to fold, but it's a pretty bad card because you can have queen 10 and I guess 8-10, 7-10 maybe less likely. I don't think he's going to float that flop with ace high because it's a pretty bad board. He could sometimes, I guess, have like 4s or 5s maybe and just decide to call flop, and then now he's turning into a bluff pot. I mean, that's not that many combinations of hands, and he still might not do it anyway. So I think we have a pretty easy fold. But, you know, like I said, we don't know too much about him yet. Could turn out to be a complete psycho. Pretty standard stuff. And we lose a player. And I don't mind that, actually, the other guy getting that's big stack as well. I think it might actually be good for us. I would prefer to have a lot of medium to short stacks because the ICM is going to come into play very soon. It is already into play, obviously, a little bit, but not significantly enough, and not really when you consider this player's thought process. They're probably not thinking about it too much at this stage. I mean, they would be, but I don't think it's going to alter their ranges vastly. Whereas if it's final table and there's a bunch of eights all sitting there and then two big stacks, yeah, then I think it's going to alter their ranges a bit because they know they can just wait for other players to bust to move up in pay. And it's only a $44 tourney, so these guys are not regs as far as I know, although this Brazilian guy might be, but they may be a little bit sensitive to the pay jumps. Some of these guys, it's a couple $100 here and there, so. I'm going to 3-bet this guy small again. I'm pretty close on this one. I like my sizing here. Until he jams on us and then I hate it. No, I do kind of like our sizing here because we 3-bet him a little bit larger last time and we made it a little bit smaller this time. And I just thought that he might interpret it as being a decent hand. Just thinking if there's any merit to checking. Probably not. But maybe. We'd be pretty unlucky, I think, to run into a better hand here. I mean, if he's got like ace-10 or ace-9, I mean, I think that would be pretty unlucky because he would jam those pre, I think. So he could actually have had a smaller suited ace that he called with because we 3-bet him again and it wasn't too much more to call that we can get value from. If we want to go down the road of checking, we do have the nut backdoor spade, which is great. But yeah, I mean, if I bet small, he might sometimes float. He could sometimes make a little raise anyway as a bluff. It's pretty unlikely, quite unlikely, but not impossible. If we check, yeah, maybe checking is better actually on this board. Yeah, I guess given his range, actually, I'll take it all back. I think checking is better. He's probably got King Jack, King Queen, King 10. He might jam King Queen pre, 10 Jack, Queen 10 suited, Queen 10 suited, and stuff like that. So if we check flop, we give him the chance to stab, and then if we check turn, well, I mean, if we check again turn, we give him another chance to stab with hands that have very little equity. Or if the turn is, say, Queen, I would probably lead small and try and get value now. And I think we can squeeze a little more EV that way. So I think checking would have been better there. A little bit overzealous, but I mean the pot was already quite big, so I mean it's never that bad. And checking does look a little bit like you kind of have an ace, I think, there to a decent player if he is decent. It kind of does, I think, kind of look like you have an ace. Whereas when you c-bet, it could just be a c-bet. It doesn't have to necessarily be a hand. But that's really up to interpretation and depends on the player and their level of, well, their multi-level thinking in a big way. I think that can vary pretty drastically. I think most beginners are just going to put you on a hand, and most, experienced players or a little bit deeper thinkers are going to sort of think that checking can actually look stronger. It doesn't necessarily cap your range in that instance because the board is just so dry and the SPR is so low already, and there's not that many bad cards on that flop. So checking makes a lot of sense to get some value on later streets from hands that are likely to have very little equity.